Welcome to WiredToHunt's Unconventional Wisdom, where we take one commonly held deer hunting belief and examine an unexpected alternative. For a lot of years growing up, watching hunting TV, reading hunting magazines, reading hunting books, all that kind of stuff, I was under the impression that you absolutely had to be hunting up in a tree if you want to kill a deer. But over the years, as I've hunted more and more locations, tried different techniques, and had more success, what I've come to find out is sometimes it's actually best to ditch the tree stand and get on the ground. Here are some of the reasons why you should get out of the tree and get on the ground to get after deer. Number one, you just have a tremendous amount of versatility. This is something that I came across over and over again this past season. I hunted 9 different states this past year. Many of those were brand new locations. Many of those states I arrived with an elevated setup, tree stand, saddle, sticks, that kind of stuff. So I had options and I was planning on getting up into trees. But pretty quickly on many of these trips, I realized that trying to learn this new ground quickly, I was finding that I wanted to try a spot for a little bit and then I wanted to move again and then I wanted to move again. And then I sometimes realized I was hunting in a location and I just needed to make a 20-yard move. Now with sticks in the saddle like I use, I can make those moves pretty quickly, but there are some times even when I want to move faster than that. I'd like to make a move right now and I want to be in the new spot in 5 minutes. And if I'm not in that new spot in 5 minutes, I might not be able to get a deer. That happened exactly like that in Alabama for me, where I had a situation where, I realized that I was in the general right space, but I had some bucks come through that I couldn't get a shot at just because of the view. So I moved 25, 30 yards down the ridge to a spot I could see just a little bit better down to this bottom. And a couple hours later, here comes a buck I was able to get a shot at. So those little micro tweaks can make all the difference. If you're up in a tree stand that you spent half an hour setting up, you're much less likely to be willing to tear down and make that move. When you're on the ground, you can make that move right away whenever you feel like you need to. Maybe you saw a deer pass through and you can make the move 5 minutes later as soon as he's out of view, adjust your location, get there so that the next time a buck comes cruising down that trail, you're in the right spot. Not only can you make adjustments based on what you see deer doing, but also if the conditions change, hunting on the ground allows you to quickly adjust as well. I've had a number of times where I've gotten up into a tree and I started hunting and I realized the wind isn't doing what I thought it was gonna do. Well, prior version of me might have said, well, I already stuck this tree stand up here, I might as well stick it out the rest of the night and wait and see what happens. But now, I've come to find, just hop out of that tree, get set up on the ground 20 yards away where you know you can work with that wind and make the most of your scenario. Let's say you were hunting water and you thought, oh, this is the ticket. And then all of a sudden you look around and you realize, oh, there's a pond there, there's a pond there, there's a pond there. It starts raining or whatever it is. And you think, well, I need to change what I'm doing. I need to hunt a different feature. Get up, move, be on the ground. Or if you start on the ground, it makes it a whole lot easier to adjust. Same thing goes if you're hunting and another hunter comes walking in. If you're hunting public land, it's really nice to not be locked into any one location. 2 guys come in and start setting up close to you. If I'm on the ground, no big deal. I'm just gonna keep moving on, find something that works. It just gives you a lot of options. So if you find yourself in somewhere new, somewhere there's a lot of pressure, somewhere where conditions are changing, or you simply want to have that versatility, it's a great way to go. So when you're hunting new places, this is so useful. There's certainly times when, get up in the tree, get that increased visibility, get that increased stealth that you can get from being up high. But if you don't have that kind of knowledge yet, being on the ground presents you with a whole lot of options. Let's say it's during the peak of the rut and the buck you're after is often some nasty thick stuff and you see him go in there. I was after one specific buck. He was the only deer I wanted to kill. And I saw him follow a doe, locked onto a doe, heading away from me, going towards a food source. And I'm sitting up in a tree. And I thought to myself, well, I know that's the only deer I'm interested in shooting. I could just sit up here 200 yards away and twiddle my thumbs, knowing that I'm not gonna shoot anything tonight. Or maybe I need to get out of the tree, get on the ground and try to make something happen. Well, that's what I did. Got on the ground, was able to circle around him, get into his zone where he's still gonna go. And I came close. I mean, I got to within 70 yards of him. I didn't kill him, but I was in the game. Sometimes just having the confidence to give it a shot, you might have your opportunity. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Finally, many times deer are going to be traveling, living, spending time in places where there just aren't great tree stand trees. The old me might have said, well, if I don't have a good tree stand tree, I'm not gonna hunt there because there's no way I can hunt this location without a buck spotting me if I'm trying to be on the ground. But there are so many instances where you can get away with that. Going into grassy fields, going into cattail swamps, going into CRP, going into river bottoms, utilizing a deadfall. I mean, there's a million different ways you can sneak in on deer or set up an ambush for deer on the ground. You don't need a tree to evade a deer, to surprise a deer, to get close enough to a deer. It's possible. I think the biggest thing is this mental hurdle. We've been so trained to believe that you gotta be elevated to kill a buck, to kill any kind of white-tailed deer, and it's just simply not true. And as soon as you realize, like, hey, this isn't against the rules, this is possible, you can get out there and try it. As soon as you try it, you'll start seeing that it opens a lot of doors. Yes, there's some advantages to being high, absolutely, but there are also advantages to being on the ground. And I think what it comes down to is knowing when it's right to get to there, when it's right to go up there, trying different things. The final thing I'll mention is that when you are hunting on the ground at eye level, it opens up better shot opportunities many times. Not having that steep angle actually can be great for your accuracy. It presents many easy, simple, just like you're training behind the yard kind of shots. And if you can prepare for that, if you can put yourself in a position, if you know how to make moves at the right time when deer aren't looking or where there's obstacles in the way, you can get those shots just as easily as you can up in a tree stand. So just remember this, you don't have to be up in a tree. Sometimes it pays to go on the ground. It's absolutely possible. All 4 of the deer I killed this past year happened on the ground without a blind. The same thing could be true for you someday too. If you want more information like this, be sure to tune into the Wired Hunt podcast or the Wired Hunt Foundation's mini-series. We've got new deer hunting know-how every week. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts.